What's up, YouTube? ProTech here, back with another StarCraft 2 video for you guys today. In today's video, we're going to be doing another high-level analysis of I'd say game of the day from yesterday's stream, so let's get into it. So I'm up against Protoss Random, my teammate is Zerg, I'm playing Random.
Good luck, have fun, and beat him, probably.
So there's not really too much that goes through your mind when you queue up against barcodes. In this iteration of the game, my usual approach is that, you know, with the volume of games that I've played in StarCraft, and just one of the recurring patterns that I see with barcodes is that a lot of them are just straight up cheating. The approach that I have, and sort of like the thought process at the beginning of the game, is standard, nothing gimmicky, no ninja base, no mine drop, no proxies, no 3-Rax Reapers. Because I've just seen a pattern with barcodes that just doesn't work. And the only success that I've really had in playing against barcodes is just straight up standard. In the loading screen, I could see that it was Protoss Random. So in situations like this, you want to open with a Reaper. Now, normally when I'm playing in like super high ping, I don't actually send my Reaper across the map because it's just too difficult to micro. I don't honestly remember whether I did that or not in this game. But anyway, when it comes to playing in like really high ping, you can't, there's no way to make bio work. You can't make it work. So I pretty much always default to mech. And sometimes I will play bio, but pretty much the only time you see me playing bio is if I have gotten on a server that's like actually playable. So I pop up into the base here and I see a sentry. This is extremely unusual. You either usually see an adept or you see a stalker, right? And I found out very painfully not too long ago that a sentry does in fact win against a Reaper. So you have to run away from it. So I pop into the base here, I see a robotics facility, and I see this before the expansion. So all of that's very unusual. I don't really know what I'm looking at. And then I scout a third base from the Zerg player. So, in all honesty, I have no idea what to expect. But I figure if I just play a solid macro game, TZ is generally, I would consider, better than PZ. It's a stronger composition, they have stronger units, they have more mobility. So I just figure if I play a solid macro game, I should be okay. But here we push across the map. My teammate wants to be aggressive, so the best approach with that is just to link up with his units if you've gone for this type of a composition. Hellions and Zerglings in the early game synergize really well. and you'll see this is like I'm taking a crap ton of damage like on my units, and the main reason for this is because when I issue an input, it doesn't register in real time. So you always end up taking far more damage than you otherwise would if you were playing on lower ping. But anyway, you can see here, you know, we're both just kind of like, this is kind of like light pressure as we're both taking third bases or whatever. And I'm just kind of macroing up behind this. And this is a pretty good approach when you're playing this style. Because as you can see, it can be pretty strong. So I see the Colossus here. That again, that's very unusual. I'm still not really too sure like what I'm seeing. But unfortunately, due to the ping, it's, as you can see here, it's just incredibly difficult to actually micro your army and be really cost efficient. So like if I was playing on 30 ping here, that hatchery probably would have died based on the Protoss's open because he had a very low unit count. It was very tech heavy. And so I would say that the reason that that hatchery on the left side of the map didn't die was my fault because I'm playing in high ping. And then so from here, when you see a Colossus like that, at a high level, typically what that's going to mean is that the Zerg player is going to be spamming Mutalisk. It's just kind of like one of those compositions that you see all the time. If the Protoss player has gone for like some kind of a Colossus composition, you're going to see a Mutalisk composition out of the Zerg player. So you can see, like, I'm staying on a Cyclone Hellion composition rather than like switching to tanks, right? And it all lines up. I mean, it's kind of an assumption that the Zerg is going mutas, but you can kind of more or less tell that that's what it's going to be. Just because that Zergling count is incredibly high, and when we were pressuring here at the third base, you're never going to take your extra gases here first. If you're teching, you're going to take them here. So if you see a lair and then you see double gases like this, and also we could see the saturation when he took the gases, this almost always will mean muta. If there are no drones here, but he's taking these gases, that means he wants that gas, which usually will indicate a mutalist play. Combined with the fact that the Protoss player has gone for a Colossus composition, and he's also taken that fourth base aggressively, so that just kind of confirms to me that he is going muta. So at this point, I don't really know what the Protoss composition is, but I'm pretty confident to break the backdoor rocks here and take my gold base. And the reason I feel this way is because I'm looking at the mini map. I haven't really actually panned over my teammate too much, but I can. When you play enough games, you can, just by looking at the mini map, you can really kind of see, like, kind of gauge the skill level of your teammate. And as we can see here, there's that spire, right? You can kind of gauge the skill level of your teammate just by looking at the minimap. And by me looking at the minimap, I can see that all of his bases are saturated. He's taking a fourth. which gives me the confidence to go ahead and take my 4th base. As you can see, I get caught out of position a little bit here, but because I preemptively prepared for these mutas even before the Spire was ready to go, you can see how I start to like really shave off that muta count. One of the mistakes I seem to be making here is not getting Blue Flame, which I am actually getting it. It's halfway done. So now we've confirmed what the Protoss composition here is, and it's Immortal Colossus. It's not something you see often, but it is very good against my comp. Not so much the Zerg, but it's very good against my comp. So in this game, it sort of feels like I've got 2 players countering my comp and just like ignoring Zerg. So in this situation, you may not think it, but going for Thor, Mine, Hellion is actually the best approach. Thors are incredibly good against what they're building. Now you got to have tank in there too, you know, like for the Immortals, because the Immortals do extra damage to armored units. But if you have the Hellbats in the front to soak up the damage, it's not so bad, and then the Thors can, you know, kill the Colossus and, you know, all the air stuff, right? So there is a recurring theme in 2v2 that always seems to happen in my games. And when I was playing this game, I was flabbergasted that my teammate was actually able to hold his side of the map, because 9 times out of 10 when I'm playing a solo queue game, what ends up happening when I send my units across the map like this to do damage on this side, my teammate almost is never able to hold his side of the map. And so what ends up happening is I have to choose, am I going to continue the push, or am I going to turn around and try to help him, right? But if we take a look at how this transpires over here, it's epic. Like, this is pretty scary comp, right? But my teammate holds it like a boss. Well, actually, this isn't actually the spot, but you can see the glimmer of what I was just talking about, right? I walk across the map to do damage, and then I have to choose, okay, so am I going to continue this pressure, or am I going to turn around and try to help him, right? And 9 times out of 10, I choose to go and help, because I just figure, like, you know, if I go and he loses everything, it doesn't really matter, because my army is slow, I'm not going to be able to get back, so I almost always choose to help, right? But I didn't need to do that here, so I should have been paying closer attention. But, you know, it's just like you play so many games and the scenario just repeats itself over and over and over again, and you just kind of like start naturally making bad decisions like that. So, you know, when you're playing a mech composition like this, it can get a little complicated, because the composition that you're playing is really slow. And usually what you will see is, you know, your opponents are going to pressure this side of the map and just kind of stay away from this army, which, you know, isn't a bad approach. But it can get a little complicated to make work, and so it is kind of mandatory that your teammate can hold his side of the map so that you can do your thing, right? Because, you know, I mean, I can hold my side of the map all day long. They can't do anything to me. And this is generally where the weakness is when I play my games, and I use this style. So I got caught out of position here, right? But once again, we have a teammate who's making good choices. He's, you know, he identifies that both of the armies are 1v2ing me. So he takes that opportunity to pressure this side of the map. And it was a good choice, because if we look at the composition, there's no way I'm going to die to this. Right? As long as I micro my Thors, I'll be able to kill all the mutas. Yeah, I may lose a big chunk of my army, but I've got my reinforcements and I've got my SCVs. There's no way I'm going to die to this. So the choice to make this counter on this side of the map, beautiful. And then they've got to make a choice. Are they going to pressure me, or are they going to turn around and save Protoss 4th or 5th base, whatever that is by now? Which, unfortunately, I guess he must have used a recall, and he was not able to get the 5th. But it let up the pressure on me, and I traded really well on the left side of the map. So, even though he didn't get the 5th, or the 4th, whatever that is, yeah, the 5th, it's still not a bad situation for us to be in. You know, I've still got reasonable army supply. And then here, I believe, is what I would say is the game-winning moment of the game, which usually I'm responsible for, but in this game, my teammate was responsible for. Just a lot of pussy farting around here. Yeah, I think it's right here. So I see, so on the mini-map, I see, okay. They're pressuring the right side. I'm going to pressure the left. Hopefully my teammate can hold, right? Check out how he holds this. It's sick. Blinding Cloud on the Immortals. Parasitic Bomb on the mutas. Just an epic hold, right? Beautiful. So this right here was the game-winning play, by far. I take no credit in... I mean, other than I made the right choice based on what I was seeing to pressure this side of the map. But that was an epic hold from the teammate. And one of the things that, like, if you'll notice, the Zerg player, the Zerg opponent in this game is playing this style where he's just, like, trying to avoid the army. Kill the SCVs, kill the expansions. One of the, like, the absolute best way to handle this is to get building armor on your buildings. But, I mean, you know, we look at a game like this, and, you know, if I had had a teammate who was weaker, that there's no way we would win, right? Just no way. So we got, it's pretty unusual, you know, when you're playing solo queue to actually get a teammate of this caliber on your team. It's very unusual. It does not usually happen. But I mean, without the skill level of this opponent, I mean, I would just be dead in the water, right? And that's kind of like where team games are right now. It doesn't, in my opinion, I've said this many times on stream, but 2v2 has kind of lost its identity. There's really not too much of a difference playing a 1v1 versus playing a 2v2. There's not really that much of a difference. I really much so get the idea that, you know, when you're playing a high-level team game, it's really just 4 players playing 1v1. It's what it feels like in most cases. So anyway, I'm pressuring this side of the map, and, you know, it makes sense for the Protoss to, like, you know, sacrifice all of his bases and try to just wipe out my army. Because that's really what his army is built for. His army is built for my comp. So he can't really go up against Viper, Lurker, Hydra with his composition. So I end up losing all my army on that side of the map, but at this point it doesn't really matter because they've lost all of their economy. And Protoss composition, and with the way that his composition is and the production that he has, there's really no way for him to deal with whatever Zerg is making, right? And I start spamming Widow Mines here because they're just kind of like cost efficient. You know, I'm not able to get my 3rd and 4th bases up, because that just keeps happening over and over and over again. So I've got a little eco. When I find myself in this low sort of eco situation, I just start spamming mines. So I thought that was a pretty good game. That was definitely the game of the day on stream. If you guys are enjoying this type of content, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.